This is a speech that got China's most famous entrepreneur, Jack Ma, into trouble.
He kind of slid directly into criticism of the Chinese regulatory environment, saying things, for example, that China has a pawn shop mentality, very traditional, old school. But it didn't come off as very funny.
Ma is the lead founder of e-commerce giant Alibaba, which the fintech giant Ant Group grew out of. Both companies have redefined China's economy. But Ma directly challenged the people who oversee the country's economy during this speech.
The speech really triggered the central government all the way up to President Xi Jinping.
So how did the model of Chinese innovation and entrepreneurial success end up facing the ire of Beijing? We look at 3 of his public appearances to find out.
In the early days, you knew Jack more because of his humor and his charisma than for his company.
Duncan Clark first met Ma when Alibaba was set up in 1999 as a fledgling e-commerce company. The internet consultant based in Beijing even wrote a book about his friend.
He had this sense that he was destined for great things.
Ma lived up to his own expectations as his startup grew into a tech powerhouse. And he rubbed shoulders with global elites.
Few people could be a better example of the China dream. Jack Ma basically was the best PR for the Chinese government.
We're just a press by.
He wants to make a difference, be it the advancement of technology in China overall or geopolitical matters.
As Ma became the friendly face of China's economic rise, he found himself more involved in politics.
Business and political leaders would like to say that they know Jack. When they visited China, sometimes heads of state would irritate the party actually by making appointments for Jack.
One of the most talked about encounters was when Ma went to Trump Tower to meet the president-elect less than 2 weeks before the inauguration.
High quality man. Thank you, Jack.
The foreign ministry was in dark about this meeting. They didn't know about it until after the meeting was all over the news.
And we also think the China-USA relationship should be strengthened.
Some officials felt like he should have stayed in his own lane, which is being a businessman, not crossing over to sensitive issues.
And this wouldn't be the last time Ma crossed the line.
从今天晚上12点以后，我将不是 CEO。
Since 2013, Ma had been slowly signaling that he'd make his way out of Alibaba.
I can compete with Bill Gates, who can retire earlier.
Then finally, in 2019, he officially stepped down as executive chairman of the company at the age of 55.
今天不是马云的退休，而是一个制度传承的开始。
It didn't really come as a surprise to a lot of officials, and some of them thought he's smart. He's basically wrapping up a very successful career.
Asset, why with me?
But Ma's retirement didn't mean he was going away from the public eye. He pursued philanthropic causes and became a judge on an African reality television show similar to Shark Tank.
Let the competitors worry about you.
Ma also didn't fully leave the tech world after retirement. He remained the controlling shareholder of Ant, which has changed the way many people in China spend, borrow, save, and invest. The company has also worked with and competed against state-owned banks and other financial institutions in China.
His company, Ant, has been acting like a bank without being regulated as a bank. Ant has amassed a trove of consumer data. That data has allowed Ant Group to stay many steps ahead of traditional commercial lenders.
It was very lucrative for Ant, so much so that the company landed in the crosshairs of Chinese regulators.
The central bank had wanted to tighten the screw over his companies for quite a long time.
有时候不适当落后的监管本身就是巨大的风险。
But because of his tremendous ability to combine his entrepreneur ambitions with his political savvy, he had been able to basically fend off that kind of pressure.
But the clash between Ma and financial regulators all came to a head on October 24th last year.
我们不能用管理火车站的方法去管理飞机场，不能用昨天的办法来管未来。
On this occasion in Shanghai, what he was saying was directly criticizing actually people in the room, which include very senior figures in the Chinese government in financial regulation.
我们决定了蚂蚁金服的上市的定价，这么大一次全人类有史以来最大的上市。
This speech in Shanghai was maybe a culmination of where we'd gone from total humility in the early days to perhaps a touch of hubris.
Less than 2 weeks after this speech, Chinese regulators took action.
Ultimately, it was President Xi who personally intervened in the matter, called off the Ant IPO, and instructed financial regulators to do a thorough investigation into the risks posed by Jack Ma's financial and technology empire.
Ant has said it's moving quickly to try and address the concerns of regulators. After the Shanghai speech, Ma was nowhere to be seen. But 3 months later, he reappeared in a video that was posted to Chinese social media by a government-backed news outlet called Tianmu News. It showed him addressing village teachers in China.
今年因为疫情的原因啊，我们不能在三亚见面。
Senior officials don't want to send the wrong message to the Chinese entrepreneurs. Okay, once you get big, this is the consequence for you. The party leadership obviously want to have very firm control over the economy. But another top priority for the central leadership is to keep innovation going. That's a very big challenge for China going forward.
And Alibaba and Ant are still a major part of China's tech future. But it's an open question what that means for Jack Ma.
Is there a way for him to redeem himself? The jury definitely still out.